Welcome, everyone, to this Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, Touch of Torah with Rabbi Barry Silver. And we're getting near the end of the Torah because a week from Friday is Rosh Hashanah. So we're going to be talking about NITZAVIM and VAYEILACH tonight, the last couple of chapters in Deuteronomy. Take it away, Rabbi.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Yes, we are gearing up towards the high holidays. This is our warm-up as we get ready for the big days when we seek a spiritual transformation of our lives and a spiritual transformation, hopefully, in this nation and the world as well. So the last two passages are quite interesting. We do have NITZAVIM, and I'm not going to speak a whole lot about that. It comes up on the high holidays, this same passage, and I'll be talking quite a bit about that. So if you want to hear more about NITZAVIM, join us for the high holiday services. I think there's still a few spaces available. And I think you also, if you live far away, you can catch it on the internet. And then also, we're going to discuss a little bit VAYEILACH, the next chapter. So NITZAVIM is read on the high holidays because it's so important. What it's saying is that everyone is standing here together as one community. It really emphasizes the fact that the Jewish people are one. From the drawers of water, the choppers of wood, to the elite, to the wealthy, the poor, the royalty, everyone is all standing together to be judged as a nation. And no one is considered more important than any other one. The nation itself is being judged. Before that, Moses goes through a little bit of a reprieve about what's happened so far, and he's refreshing the memory of the Jewish people again and saying that when you wandered through the desert for 40 years, in addition to all the other miracles, your clothes didn't wear out in 40 years. Your shoes held up just fine. And you didn't have food or drink, but God provided it. So Moses is reminding them of these miracles. If you were a traditional Jew, an Orthodox Jew, and you accept this at face value, you would have no choice but to say that God is definitely with the Jewish people and that these miracles really occurred. And therefore, we can be sure that what Moses says next will happen. If the Jews follow God's commandments, then all will go well for them because he will protect us. And if we don't, things will go badly. So both, again, are brought up in this section, and it's really probably the third or fourth time in some of the recent passages that we're reminded of this. But on this occasion, you're all standing together and will be judged. And Moses is predicting, according to the Orthodox through God, that the Jews will go astray, they will be punished and exiled, and then they will come back again. Modern interpreters believe that this was written during the Babylonian captivity around that time. So it's not such a great, wonderful job of prognostication. It was actually written after the fact, after the author of this knew that the Jews would be exiled by the Babylonians and knew that they would return later with Nehemiah. So this is the main part of NITZAVIM. As far as what we can gather from it, what we learn from it, is that we all stand together as Jews, one people. And we should never, ever forget that we all must stand united. And all of us, we all have our functions to play, and we're all needed. Each one is important. The next part, VAYEILACH, describes the very end of the Torah where Moses comes to the end of his days. He predicts his own demise, and the Torah then glowingly gives tribute to Moses and the life that he led. I'm told by Sharon that she has a couple of wonderful videos to show, and these videos are a great way of learning about the Torah. We remember, though, that the videos normally, and I believe these too, are written from a traditionalist perspective, which takes for granted that the Torah was written by a divine author and that everything in it is true and accurate. At Va-Dor, we don't ascribe to that. We do believe that the Torah has much to teach us, but not because of that. And we also believe that everyone is free to evaluate the Torah and to learn and glean from it according to their own interpretation. Each of us in this generation is called upon to reinterpret the Torah. And so it's up to us to use our minds as best we can, and our heart and our study, in order to determine what we believe. And in that way, the whole Jewish people, as we stand here together, can help advance Judaism and help Judaism to grow and evolve. Sharon, I'll turn it back over to you so you can show the videos.
Okay. First one I'll be showing is for Nitzavim by Dahlia Lithwick. Make sure my sound is good before I start it. I'll move it a little bit.
Let's make a deal. Picture it. It's the very last day of Moses' life, and he's gathered all the children of Israel around him for one last farewell pep talk. Except this isn't really so peppy a pep talk. It's a pep talk designed to scare their pants off. A pep talk with the full force of the Torah behind it. Parshat Nitzavim opens by observing that everyone is there, from the fancy elders and officials down to the wood choppers and the water drawers. The reason even the wood choppers are mentioned? This is a contract between God and everyone. The children of Israel aren't gathered just to listen this time. They are each there to perform a binding legal act, to enter a covenant. It's a little bit like Let's Make a Deal, in that God is saying, come on down. God's going to sign and seal a lifelong bargain with them today. On this day, says the Torah, as if to emphasize that anyone reading it is also binding themselves, right now, today. It's the sealing of a bargain God promised decades before to the people who first got Judaism started, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. So consequential is this promise God is about to enter. God tells the children of Israel that although every last one of them is there, wood choppers, water drawers, etc., God is also entering into a covenant with those who aren't there, the generations who haven't even been born yet. And so high are the stakes for this bargain with God, we are being treated to a warning that anyone present who might be mouthing the promise while secretly thinking about straying from God's path, note to secret sinners. If you break your covenant with God, your name will be, the Torah says, blotted out from under heaven. That's Torah speak for don't even think about it. In case you ever wondered what it means to literally put the fear of God into someone, Nitzavim offers some clues. If the Israelites opt to stray from the commandments, God will send plagues and diseases on the lands and devastate the soil with sulfur and salt. Should the children of Israel chase mindlessly after other gods, the wood, stone, silver, and gold gods, God will literally throw every curse in the book at them. You can imagine the children of Israel pretty much trembling in their sandals hearing all this. But then God shows them what's behind door number 2, promising them free choice, and that if they listen to and follow the laws of the Torah, God will gather them together and bring them back with love. Somehow Nitzavim gives you the sense that however many times you choose door number 1, the sins and stuff, door number 2 is always still available if you're serious about returning to God. No matter how many times you choose the wrong path, there is always the possibility of forgiveness in return. And the Torah is very specific about the prizes. If you just keep your promises to God, you'll be rewarded with kids, cattle, crops. It's even better than the Showcase Showdown. And for a people who've been slogging through a dusty desert for ages, these prizes must have sounded like heaven on earth. Imagine, after all those years of having sand in your robe, how wonderful the idea of cooling off under your very own olive tree would have sounded. God is painfully specific about the blessings and the curses. And there's one other thing that's very specific today. The commandments, or literally mitzvot, that God's giving, they're not to be found up in the heavens or far out across the sea. They're not supposed to be complicated like that. These commandments are already in our own mouths and our own hearts. You already own the prize. Heaven on earth is as close as your own mouth and your own heart. Finally, as is the case with all binding legal agreements, God finds 2 witnesses to the deal, calling on heaven and earth to witness this covenant that stretches back to the first ancestors of the Israelites and forward to every descendant of those who entered into it. Heaven and earth, past and present, blessings and promises. It really is the deal of a lifetime, and maybe a lifetime or 2 after that.
we have any comments about that before I go on to the next one? Rabbi or? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
the video did a very good job, I believe, of explaining the blessings and the curses, and also indicating that it's with that generation, but also it's with each one of us. It's not something that was just made in the past. Each one of us, we also are called upon to enter into a covenant and to be rewarded or punished. We don't today, modern Jews don't believe that you have to follow all the laws or else you're going to be punished, God's laws in the Torah. But we do believe that if you do the right thing and you lead a just life and our country does the right thing and the world follows certain laws, especially how to treat other people and how to get along and how to treat the planet, then good things will happen. We believe that very, very strongly, and that's the message. And as it's said in the in that video, very graphically, it applies to us today, right now, and it's very, very serious. And the other thing that it mentions is that the requirements for blessings are not so esoteric, like you don't have to meditate all day and or mouth certain things that you don't really believe or don't make any sense. We don't have to accept somebody as our savior. It says that the teachings of God, the instructions are in your mouth and in your heart. All you have to do is feel the right things, feel love, speak love, and things will turn out well for you. That's a striking message of this passage, which is different than many other religions. Some religions are just really, really hard. It's like you have to go up on a mountaintop and you have to study with a guru for years, or you have to accept certain credos that don't really make sense to us, but you have to accept it on faith, even though we don't really believe it. The Torah is very clear. It's very simple. It's in your heart, and the words are in your mouth. So that video does a really good job of explaining that. Let's see what Vayelach. Do you have one for Vayelach too?
I do. I do.
All right, let's see Vayelach.
All right.
In VAYEILACH, Moses is nearing the end of his life. He does a few major things before he dies, though. First, he informs the Israelites that he's not going to cross into Israel with them, that instead, Joshua will lead them into the Promised Land. Second, Moses tells Joshua to be strong and to not be afraid, because God's going to help him out. Third, Moses writes this great Torah and gives it to the Kohanim, the holy priests and keepers of the tabernacle. Moses declares that the Torah should be read for all time, to men, women, children, and the stranger in our midst. Talk about crossing your T's and dotting your I's. God then speaks to Moses and has him bring Joshua into their little conversation. God appears in a pillar of smoke and warns them both that the people they have led this far will soon stray from their covenant. God instructs Moses to teach a special song to the people, which describes how God brought them to the land of milk and honey and their subsequent straying. Just in case you think, how nice, a song, just keep in mind, the song also contains severe warnings of God's anger at this disobedience. VAYEILACH concludes with Moses finishing up writing the Torah. After this, he commands the Kohanim to place the Torah into the ark. He then asks to speak to all of the elders of Israel so that heaven and earth can bear witness to his warnings. The song is spoken into the ears of all of Israel, which continues in the next parsha, Ha'azinu. VAYEILACH provides an opportunity to explore our personal role in our faith. How, you might ask, can a Torah portion about Moses nearing death and singing songs specifically infuse our responsibility to our people? One of the things that the Torah does in VAYEILACH is obligate each of us to write our own Torah, just as God instructed Moses to do. Anyone who has ever seen a Torah scribe knows that this is not something to do between scrubbing the toilets, working a 12-hour shift, or changing a diaper. However, we can do two things. First, we can help sponsor the writing of a Torah by a scribe or sofer. The chance comes up every now and then in communities, synagogues, or even online to help write a letter or to help pay for the cost of a letter, word, sentence, or parsha. Sometimes you can choose a letter that's relevant to you, such as the first initial of your Hebrew name or part of your bar or bat mitzvah parsha. Second, we can be the living embodiment of the Torah. This is kind of a big one. In a way, even though learning how to write the precise letters of the Torah is difficult, this is way harder. What might being a living Torah look like? Here are some ideas. First, try integrating little bits of the Torah into your life. For instance, the 10 Commandments, or resting on Shabbat. Even speaking kindly to other people and respecting all people are parts of that. Here's something you've probably heard before. What you hate being done to you, do not do to another person. This shows that you are a walking example of the good intentions of our Torah. Think of yourself as a walking, talking Torah. What do you want others to see when they look at you walking down the street? Do your actions say to people, "I like the way she carries herself and conducts business. I wonder what her guidebook is"? With the Torah as our guide, we can be examples to others by not gossiping, being generous to those less fortunate, and seeking justice and pursuing it. VAYEILACH shows us that the road to happiness is paved with trees, and those trees are the Torah, always blooming and always branching out. Only when we really learn to cling to it can we become the embodiment of the principles and the beauty held inside its letters.
Wow. Again, another wonderful video. It certainly has its own perspective, but I think it shares a lot of very valuable insights as far as the Torah. What I will be speaking about this high holiday season, some people might be surprised that I actually think about that before the actual days of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. I do plan in advance, is that we wish that we might be entered into the book of life. And what we should also wish for is that we author a new and exciting chapter in the book of life, and that we take responsibility for what's written in our book, creating a new chapter that's interesting and helpful and inspirational to other people. So this passage, the video talks a little bit about that. I should also explain the word Torah is related to the word morah or moreh. Morah means a teacher. The word Torah means the teaching. In the Torah, you see many, many times where it says, this is the teaching of, and then it might say, the laws of purity, or this is the teaching of agriculture, or this is the teaching of the laws of Shabbat. The teaching is a little microcosm of some lesson or some particular part of Jewish belief that is taught to the people. Most people think that the word Torah means the 5 books of Moses. That's not what it means in the Torah. In the Torah, what it means is a particular narrow teaching. So when it says that Moses wrote this teaching and then gave it to the elders, what modern historians and scholars and Jews believe is that that particular chapter, those few verses, were written by Moses and given to the elders. It doesn't mean that he wrote the entire Torah from Genesis all the way on. That would have taken an exceptionally long time, especially for an older person. Now, if you believe in miracles, God could have done this through him in an instant. But most scholars believe that what they had in mind there is that just that little part was written by Moses. Most modern Jews and scholars don't believe Moses wrote any of it for a variety of reasons. But the beautiful thing about the Torah is that there are teachings in it that are so lofty and so wonderful and so beautiful that have been shared with the Jewish people in the whole world that regardless of who wrote it, there are parts of it that make an excellent guide for us and have beautiful teachings. And many of them were indicated in the video and are indicated throughout the Torah about being kind, helping others, loving one another, and trying to create a better world. These things, regardless of who actually wrote it, it's part of our Jewish heritage, our legacy, our history, our culture, our values. And for that reason, it's extremely valuable to us. And so we cherish the Torah. and regardless of who actually authored it. Well, does anybody have any insights or questions or thoughts they'd like to share?
I want to
All
thank
right.
you, Rabbi. I know that you're not 100% today, and I want to thank you for coming on board. You always have the right thing to say, no matter what, about the Torah, about our teachings, and I think the videos spurred some of that even more on. And I really loved what you said tonight. I think it really hit home, and especially with the upcoming High Holy Days, I think it's really important that we think about our Jewish heritage, think about our roots, think about our grandparents, great grandparents, and what they would like for us to be. And I think we embody them in spirit and mind as we go forward. And I like what you said.
Well, thank you. Well said. And that sure, we often say, may their memory be a blessing. And like you say, Sharon, their memory will be a blessing when we carry forward their ideals and their hopes and dreams for us and their ideas about how to make the world better. I do believe I agree with you, Sharon, about these videos are very interesting because they do serve as a catalyst for interesting discussions. We can agree or not agree with part of it, but these videos are very valuable and they help launch good discussions. And I think in the future, we should use them. And I also think that perhaps we should make these available and encourage people to watch the video and this discussion prior to the high holidays so they can kind of hit the ground running by seeing this and being well prepared for it. And I thank you, Sharon, for finding these very valuable videos and sharing them with us. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody who was with us, for attending. And please encourage your friends and family to watch this as well. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the high holidays.
Thank you.